court's docket on the petitioner's request for the adoption of this young man. They are present with their attorney of record, Denise Hyde. Also, I think that I see Christopher right in between you two. Is that right? Hello. He is present with his attorney of record, Mr. Kevin Keithley. If everyone's ready, Ms. Hyde, if you'll have your witnesses raise their right hand so that I can swear them all in.
Thank you. I'll ask a group question at the end, but so anybody, I guess, who we can see, if you, other than, of course, Mr. Keithley and myself as attorneys, if you could raise your right hand and be sworn in. And we welcome everybody to turn on their video that's here for the adoption too.
Absolutely. And Ms. Meadows, if you'll raise your right hand. Do each one of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I will.
And just to be sure, Mr. and Ms. Garcia, Rebecca and Ryan, did y'all also take the oath?
Yes, we had our we had our hands up for them. Okay. Lower.
That's okay. Ms. Hyde,
the light behind us isn't great.
Ms. Hyde, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask if you could please take judicial notice of your court's file.
The court will.
And I would like to call Ms. Chavez as my very first witness, please.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. And good morning, Ms. Chavez. Adoption specialist at Child Protective Services, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And lucky for you, you're Christopher's specialist, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And lucky for us, even though you're off this week, you did not have someone else come in here for you today. You are here for this adoption, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which we appreciate greatly, ma'am. So since this adoption is so important to you, please tell Judge why you are recommending the adoption today. You've, of course, given me the documents Judges noted along with documents from Pathways. But tell Judge why you believe this is in Chris's best interest.
Sure. I believe this is in Chris's best interest. From day one, it's just been very obvious that he had a really good relationship built with the family, and they were able to meet his needs. And it was just very apparent that they had already built a family together and that this was the perfect place for him.
And so it sounds like you're in strong support of this adoption today.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do believe it's in his best interest, correct?
I do. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Judge, pass this witness.
I have no questions. I'm sorry. No questions, Your Honor.
Next.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to go to Casa as my next witness, please.
All right.
And Ms. Anderson, you are a volunteer with Casa, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you and Mr. Mormon are here today because Casa was appointed to the previous Child Protective Services case before this adoption, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I know you all have made a lot of reports to Judge before. I'm going to ask you for your very last one as Judge considers this adoption petition.
Okay, I am totally for this adoption. I've seen a difference in Christopher from where he was and the time he's been with the Garcias, and it's just a wonderful thing. They are a family, and every time I've seen him, he's been happy, and he's a good kid, and he's shown it. You know, even in school, it's all around. I'm in total agreement with this adoption.
And he's been there since last September, so you've had a good opportunity to watch him flourish in this home.
Oh, yes,
correct?
I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
So, ma'am, it sounds like we're getting a heartfelt recommendation from you today.
Oh, yes, I'm totally. I recommend this adoption. Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Judge, pass this witness.
Next.
That would be Mr. Davenport from Pathway, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
And Mr. Davenport, you, of course, work with a lot of families for foster care and adoption, and you have had the good opportunity to work with a really fabulous family with the Garcias, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you have given me a lot of the documents related to this adoption, Judge noted. Could you speak briefly about that last court report you gave me? It recommended the adoption, said much of what the other witnesses have said, but was in strong support. Can you speak about that and let the judge know why you believe that this adoption is definitely in Chris's best interest as well?
Oh, yes. I just believe that Christopher is in a wholesome home that will help him flourish to become a very good young man, a home to love him, shelter him, protect and provide. Just overall, I just know it's very genuine, and they really believe that this is the child that they always needed in their lives.
So it sounds like we're getting another strong recommendation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Pass this witness,
Ms.
Judge.
Hyde?
Well, I'd like to go to the family, Your Honor, and I will call Mom as my next witness.
All right.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, when I said Mom, that's the reason you're here today, right?
That is correct, yes.
In fact, you have been Mom since last September in every action, word, and deed?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're asking Judge to make it official and permanent today?
Correct, yes.
And you understand when she grants the adoption, it's no different than if Chris had been born to you and your husband?
Correct, yes.
Is that how it feels in your heart?
Yes, very much so. Chris has been an immediate part of the family ever since he got here in September.
Now, of course, Judge knows a lot about him, not only from prior case, but also from everything she's read that we filed in this case. But can you just kind of let all of us know how Chris is doing, what y'all are up to this summer?
So we just got back from Arizona. We went and met Ryan's dad, stepmom, for the first time. And then we had some of Ryan's family, mom and sisters, come out and visit as well, to get him, introduced to the family. And that's the reason why we had the Zoom calls, because we really wanted everybody to be able to attend instead of an in-person one where there is very minimal of my family here. So this summer, we're just getting him ready for high school. He's extremely excited because in high school, he's attending a welding program during high school. So he'll have his associate's degree by the time he graduates, as well as a full certificate for welding, and that he's super excited about.
And it sounds like you're very proud of him.
Yes, very much so.
Understandably. You sound like a mom.
Yes. I have become very protective. He's my baby.
So, ma'am, you're asking Judge to make sure you're mom forever. And with that, I think you're promising Judge, as I know you've already promised to Chris, but in your heart, but you're promising to Judge you'll continue to be that mom he deserves and the mom you've proven to everyone to be.
Yes, very much so.
And I know that this is something you've all discussed with Chris, but you're also asking that his name change, both his middle and last name, correct?
Correct, yes. That is something we've discussed with him, and he has agreed that that's what his new name wants to be.
Thank you so much, Judge. I pass this witness.
Mr. Keithley?
Your Honor, at this time, I don't have any questions for this witness.
All right. Next, Ms. Hyde.
Oh, that would be Ryan, Dad, was my next witness. Mr. Garcia, you just heard your wife's testimony in this case, and there's really only one good answer to this, but do you agree with what she stated today?
Absolutely, 100%.
Wonderful. And this adoption, of course, is as important to you as it is to her, correct?
That is correct.
Please tell Judge what it means to you to have this adoption granted today and know that you will be Chris's dad forever and for always, not just in your heart, but now legally as well.
Well, I would say that nothing does change because he fell right into place with our humor and everything else. And I think, the little moments is what really got us going, playing catch, doing just normal stuff. And I'm excited to, I've been calling my son, Christopher for a long time now, and we all just kind of melded in. So the more I think about it, the more, maybe we couldn't have kids because we didn't know he was already born yet. So yeah, I'm ready just to go ahead and get the final thing done. And then every day-to-day life that I like to have and cherish every moment.
Sounds perfect. And you're also asking that his name be changed today. Mr. and Mrs. Garcia, is there anything you want to say to the folks gathered here today for your adoption? You got a big group here today.
Yes.
Just want to say thank you so much for everybody attending. Everybody has been absolutely so supportive. We already got stuff planned out for next summer for him to go visit family in California. Everybody has been absolutely amazing. So thank you for joining.
You all have been wonderful and supportive. So thanks for us, and then support the press as well.
So clean your face.
And as he does a celebratory donut.
Yeah, he has white powder all over.
As you can see, he's already diving into the festivities. He's excited.
Well, he's the star of the day, so I think he can get
exactly
whenever he wants to.
He knows it as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Judge, I pass this witness.
Your Honor, I forgot to ask the mom, but I'll ask the dad. You guys have a big celebration set today, right?
We do have a pretty big celebration. Chris has requested that we have a water gun fight after this. So we have some big water guns ready to go. He also has another surprise out front that he doesn't know about. We have my friends and family here today on my side here visiting. So we have a lot planned, and I mean, he's been spoiled already, so it's just going to be continued.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I passed the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Hyde?
Well, just of this witness, a request that they send some photos to Mr. Keithley and myself, and we'll share them with the court. And I would bet CASA and CPS would like them too. So that's the last thing for these witnesses.
Yes, definitely. We can make that work.
Anything further, Mr. Keithley?
Judge, if I can just ask Chris a question or two.
All right. Go ahead.
All right, Chris. Are you pretty excited about today?
You have to speak words. Can you hear him or no?
I heard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You ready for that big water gun fight out there? All right. Well, I don't want to hold that up. Okay. But you're excited. This is what you want. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I passed the witness. And with that, Your Honor, I think it's in the best interest of the child to grant the adoption and would ask the court to do that.
All right. Something tells me that Chris is not always this shy and quiet.
No, ma'am. Whenever he gets on the Zoom meeting, he kind of shuts down on video conferences and stuff. And we've been working a lot.
This case is on the court's docket for a permanency after final. The department is present through Ms. West. CASA is the guardian ad litem for this child. CASA is present through Ms. Witt. Katie Casper is the attorney ad litem for the child. The mother, Alicia Scott, is present. The father, Robert Johnson, is not here. It doesn't look like he was specifically identified as someone who's entitled to notice of this hearing, although he was here on 2/8 of 2023 when this setting would have been stated on the record. But probably he needs to get the court report, and he needs to get the court report. All right, you may proceed.
The department calls Mary Ompad. Ms. Ompad, do you have any updates on our miracle since the court report was filed?
Do I have any updates? No, ma'am.
Am I correct, ma'am, that our miracle is doing well in her current placement?
Yes, ma'am, she is. She's doing very well.
And the department doesn't have any concerns about the care she's receiving?
No, ma'am, no concerns.
And ma'am, am I correct now that the caregiver is licensed?
Yes, ma'am. She became licensed April 21st.
And so at this point, we're just waiting for those 6 months to run?
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am, am I correct in that there was a meeting between all the parties in this case after the court report was filed?
Yes, ma'am. There was a meeting. It went very well. Both parties, Ms. Carpenter and Ms. Scott, have mended their issues. They are working very well together. They are working on visitation together. They had an emotional moment at the meeting. It went very well.
And since that meeting, ma'am, the mother and Ms. Carpenter have been working together, like you said, and there haven't been any issues, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's the department's hope that the mother and Ms. Carpenter can continue to make progress and work to make sure that our Miracle's needs are met and everything goes well for her, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to the mother?
No, ma'am.
And ma'am, at this meeting that was held, did the father participate?
He was there. He didn't really say much, but he was there, and he agreed and was happy that they mended their issue.
So do you have any updates that relates to the father since the court report was filed?
No, ma'am.
So at this point, ma'am, is it fair to say we're in a pretty good place and you're just waiting for the 6-month period to run out with Ms. Carpenter?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of?
No, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Casper?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Scott, do you have any questions for Ms. Ompad? You have a right to ask her questions.
I just want to say, Judge, I got a journey right here, so just bear with me. But I will say everything that we discussed in the meeting, if it's okay for me to bring that up, just so we can all have an understanding. I basically grew up, because I came a long way within these 2 years of this case. You know, I was kind of hell. I just explained to them that I'm okay where a miracle is at, as Ms. Mary stated. You know, I want to make sure once the case is closed and everything is closed, me and my cousin, we are on good terms, but I don't want to have a fuss. I did state that whenever I feel that I'm completely stable, you know, as far as household, cash card, because I'm always up and down, like I'm on my feet, I fall off, I get back on my feet. It's kind of like an unstable. I just want to make sure that when I'm completely stable, that I do have a chance with my baby. But right now we good. I do visit. Well, I haven't visited yet, but we are getting our visits on track. I call and I text Nicole like how we used to. Everything is good. I just want to make sure that I do have that fun chance with her in the end.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Ms. West?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Casper?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Witt?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So when you said Ms. Carpenter's license, we're waiting for 6 months, when are y'all anticipating that?
October.
Okay. So before we come back for a permanency after, hopefully we'll be doing a modification. Awesome. All right. The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator. I'm approving the current placement and all of the agreements that y'all have worked out with regard to the visitation. I'll set the next permanency after for December 20th, 2023 at 1:30. Likely, it sounds like there'll be a petition to modify and probably will be done, hopefully, well before that December date. So if we get the modification done in October or November, then this December date will fall off the calendar. Anything further from anyone?
Me, Judge, I just have one question. I'm sorry. Okay, so like, I know you didn't state that I didn't lose any rights. So does that mean, because they kind of explained to me, but you got to break it down to me. Okay, so does that mean like when the case closed after the 6 months and everybody's out and me and my cousin go to court, like I don't have to fight to get her, like she can come home. Like how does that stuff work? Because my cousin stated like we'll be able to do that, but I don't, can you explain to me like what are we doing?
Well, as a general rule, just not telling, I can't give you legal advice, but as a general rule, the court order will be the court order, usually until someone goes to court and asks the judge to make a new order if the situation has changed and the change would be in the best interest of the child. There are times that a caregiver can agree without going to court, but that's not the preferred method. But you might want to talk with either an attorney. I'm not sure if Ms. Casper has an obligation to the child. I'm not sure. She probably could speak with Ms. Carpenter and you. What you don't want is to ever come back to this court again, right? So
no, we don't want that. Neither one of us want that.
That's the main thing. So I don't. The best thing. Well.
You trying to tell me without telling me. I understand. I just want to make sure. Like
we want y'all to work it out the best you can without anybody else having to be involved. So if y'all have agreements,
Correct.
Yeah, we have agreements. I just want to, I ain't lose rights, right?
Correct.
Like, so I can always have her is what I'm trying to get at.
If there's a court order that says what your visits are, then at a minimum, you will have that visit, those visits. If y'all agree to more than that, then y'all can do that.
So I lost rights.
No, ma'am.
I'm confused. Okay.
I'll talk with you and Miss Carpenter if we can all talk, and we can, hopefully I can help figure it out, explain it better.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Casper. All right. It sounds like you've done some real hard work, Miss Guy, and I'm proud of you. And I'm glad for this baby. I'm glad that you and Miss Carpenter have been able to kind of get past some of all the hard feelings and put this little baby first.
To the best of your knowledge,
Yes, ma'am.
everything included
All
in that
right.
report true and correct at the time of its filing.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I offer the department's court report.
It's admitted.
Mr. Williams, do you have any updates on Braden since the court report was filed?
The only update I do have is that I spoke to this caseworker like a week and a half ago, and they would extend him another 2 weeks so he can have his psychological completed because it was due last week. So that's about it. We just want to get that psychological completed, and hopefully that will help our CPU search.
And so at this point, what is his official discharge date?
The 24th, I believe.
And you mentioned that you're hoping the psychological will help you with the CPU search. Is that right?
That's correct.
And I'm guessing at this point, we don't have any hits on CPU.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is the department aware of any placement options for Braden once the 23rd happens?
We don't have any right now. No, ma'am.
So what is the department's plan if a placement can't be located?
CWAP.
And of course, the department understands CWAP is not ideal for any child, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the department is not aware of any relative options that are suitable for Braden at this time, correct?
No, there's none.
Okay. Do you have any other updates for the court at this time?
No.
Do you have any updates as it relates to either parent in this case?
No, ma'am.
Is there anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of?
No, not at this time.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Casper.
Mr. Williams, the department would be willing to look at Braden's mother, but she has not been cooperative. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Specifically, she won't drug test for the department. Is that right?
Correct. After her last failed drug test, she just pretty much just dropped off the map on me and won't answer calls or anything anymore.
Okay. But Braden is allowed to have contact and face-to-face visits with his grandmother. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she's been coming to the facility. Is that right?
Yes, they just had a visit last weekend.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
Anything further, Ms. West?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Casper?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Before I ask Mr. Mormon, how are you, Braden?
Good.
It sounds like you've been doing pretty well at your current placement, although we're looking for the best placement for you. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I hear that the department's, I think, looking for a foster home, and we're also looking at, well, you would like to go to grandmother, but right now the juvenile, it doesn't look like that's really an option for reasons that, well, that doesn't look like it's an option right now. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you think of anywhere else that you think that the department or the court or your lawyer should try to look into?
All right.
Okay. And you're having visits with your grandmother and phone calls, and those seem to be going good, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything else that you think I can do to make your life better right now? All right. Mr. Mormon, anything further from CASA?
Nothing really new to add. We just wish we could find a placement to meet his needs.
All right. And Mr. Williams, y'all are looking for foster homes given Braden's successful completion and the progress that he's made. Is that right? Okay. Well, hang in there with us, Braden, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
It always seems to take longer than we think it should. but keep doing all the things you're doing right, and that'll help us. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything further from anyone?
No.
The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as Braden's permanent managing conservator. I will approve the current placement. I'll set the next regularly scheduled permanency after for December 20th, 2023 at 1:30. Obviously, if we need to have a hearing in the meantime regarding placement, I'll be happy to do that. If CASA or if Ms. Casper, if y'all come up with any kind of ideas that y'all think would be, hopefully we'll find a foster home. I really don't want Braden in CWAP. I know that Mr. Williams doesn't want Braden in CWAP either. I get it. All right. In this case, if there's nothing further, we'll be for a permanency after final. The department is present through Ms. West. Katie Casper is the children's attorney guardian ad litem. Ms. Jessica Trevino is present with the mother, Lillian Lyday. Matthew Dees is not present. We're here for a permanency after. Is everyone ready?
Yes, sure.
You may call your first witness, Ms. West.
The department calls Nadia Graves. Ms. Graves, do you have any updates on the children since the court report was filed?
No, the children are doing great in their placement. Currently, they're on summer vacation and getting ready to get prepared to go back to school next month. But there's no concerns with their placement.
And ma'am, am I correct in that the current placement is licensed?
Yes.
And so the department is working on a modification to give the current placement managing conservatorship, correct?
Correct.
And ma'am, do you have any updates on the mother since the court report was filed?
Mom is still going to therapy through MHMR. There hasn't been any visits with the children since I received this case actually in March. And that's all I have to report to the court regarding mom.
And you said mom has not had any visits since you've gotten the case in March, correct?
Correct.
And why has the mother not been visiting?
Prior to me receiving the case, there was, I was told a lapse in visitation around like 8 months worth of visits that were missed. And it's a concern for the children with the in and outs of mom coming back and forth with visits. So it was recommended that we stop visits at this time because it's detrimental to the children.
Okay, so there was a concern with the inconsistency in the mother's visits?
Yes.
Okay. And so to your knowledge, the mother's not visited the children in several months, correct?
Correct.
Has the mother had any sort of contact with the children?
No, mom has been contacting the caregiver and myself regarding visits, but the caregiver's main concern is that the children regress after they haven't seen their mom for such a period of time. So at this time, they haven't had visits.
And so the caregiver has concerns about the children visiting their mother due to her not visiting previously, correct?
Correct.
Does the department share in those concerns?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to the mother?
No, not at this time.
And am I correct, ma'am, that the father, Mr. Dees, is still incarcerated?
Yes.
Do you have any updates as it relates to him?
No, I do not.
Is there anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of at this time?
No, not at this time.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Casper?
These children are 4 and 6, is that correct?
Yes, they are.
So they're pretty young to kind of understand who's mom and who's not since they've been with Miss Stallings for such a long time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that was one of the issues in a previous visit that mom was apparently saying you can't call her mom, she's your aunt and things of that nature. Is that correct?
That's what I was told, yes.
Okay. And so at this point, Miss Stallings doesn't really feel comfortable supervising the visits, does she?
Correct.
So we're kind of at this point where mom hasn't seen the kids in a long time, now wants to see them, and the kids haven't seen her in, I think, about 8 months, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does the department have any solutions to this?
The kids did recently start therapy again, and they're now starting to get acclimated to a new therapist. My recommendation would be to allow the therapist and the children to build their rapport, and for the therapist to make their recommendations on visitation and how it would go, being that they're so young and that they don't understand the ins and outs as somebody in their teens would. I think it would be better. Well, the department feels that it would be better if therapy can help in directing how visits would go in the future.
Okay. And additionally, mom would need to show some consistency, whether that's just reaching out or saying checking in, just to show that she's not going to pop in and pop out again. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Trevino.
Thank you. Ms. Graves, so has Ms. Lyday reached out to you? So in March, so has she reached out to you since March asking about the children's well-being and asking to see them?
So she's asked me about the children and she's asked about visiting, but due to the length of time in which she hasn't seen the children, I could not make the recommendation of yes, that she needs to see them.
One sec. We're going to take a brief recess. I'm going to ask the attorneys to come into a breakout room. 1 second. Any further questions of this witness, Ms. Trevino?
No, I guess.
Any further witnesses, Ms. West?
No further witnesses.
Ms. Casper?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator. I will approve the current placement of the child at this time. I am a little concerned that there's a final order that gives this mother visitation that has been not complied with. I am hoping that you guys can start looking at some way to make that right. I know that a modification is coming. I am going to order that you parties go to mediation before setting the final hearing. Well, yeah, I'm not going to set a final hearing yet on the motion to modify that hadn't been filed, but I am going to order that y'all go to mediation. I'm also going to order that it's my understanding that Ms. Stallings is not wanting to do the supervision at this time. I hope that y'all can come up with something so that the final order that was agreed to that provided mother to have visits, that didn't say if she doesn't visit, then we're going to stop her visits, that y'all can come up with something to start up some visits.
And Judge, I'll try and get the mediation scheduled fairly quickly.
Thank you. I'll set the next permanency after for December 20th, 2023 at 1:30, assuming that we don't already have the modification done before then. Is there anything further from anyone?
No, Your Honor.
This case is on the court's docket for a
No,
permanency after final. In recess. The department is present through Ms. West. CASA is present through Ms. Carrie Thompson, the volunteer, and I have recruited Ms. Cooper. I'm guessing you're standing in for Ms. Goldsmith.
Yes, ma'am.
Kate Casper is Seth's attorney ad litem. All right, you may proceed.
Hey, judges, Ms. Monique Johnson in the lobby. Ms. Johnson, am I correct? You have a couple of updates as it relates to Seth since the court report was filed?
Yes.
And am I correct, ma'am, that he has decided not to go into the Army?
Correct.
And what are Seth's plans at this point?
He has enrolled into Temple College. He told me that he's going to do computer technology instead of the veterinarian program that he wanted to do at first.
And am I correct in that his plan right now is to stay with the Cummings family?
Yes and no. He's hoping to get into a dorm on August 16th at Temple College.
Okay. Until August 16th, his plan is to stay with the Cummings?
Yes, ma'am.
And am I correct, they've indicated they will support him as he goes through this college journey?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, he is turning 18 in August. Is that right?
Correct.
And does Seth have all of his documents that he needs?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other updates that relates to Seth?
No, not at this time.
Is there anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of?
No, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Casper?
Ms. Johnson, Seth is also working full-time at McDonald's too. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he's kind of had to step up and take responsibility and get things in order so that he can set himself up for success. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the Cummings have helped him kind of take those steps and help shepherd him through that process. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll pass the witness.
Anything further of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Johnson, you've spoken with Seth about his ability to sign to stay in for extended foster care, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I hear you saying he's not wanting to stay in extended foster care.
The current placement, they're not licensed, and so he won't be able to stay if he stays with them.
Okay. Have you discussed with him about any kind of a SIL program like that could be part of a college?
Yes, we've talked about that as well. I have some more resources coming in from PAL, and I was going to send that to him once I get it all together.
And has he completed all his PAL classes?
Yes, he's on track to get his $1,000 on his 18th birthday.
Anything further from CASA?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator of this young man at this time. I will approve his current placement. I am making a finding that will enter trial independence on August 7th, and his trial independence period will end on 2/6/2024. That is assuming he doesn't choose to come back into care. I have a good amount of confidence that Ms. Cummings is going to be able to explain to him and be a resource for him as far as what coming back into care might be and how all that would work. Do all of y'all have the same impression?
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, the dorm is set up with some approval to help him with funding in that. So he's waiting to hear on that. So I think he's got a good sense of what his options are.
Then what I'm going to do is I am not going to set this for the next permanency after, because he will be on trial independence. And unless he comes back into care, I won't have any more settings for Seth's case unless anybody thinks I need to. All right. So Ms. Johnson, just make sure he's aware that he can come back into care all the way up to February 6th, but after that, it's not an option.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anything further from anyone?
And Judge, I know this is kind of an obvious, but I just have to say it out loud. It's with the understanding that when he enters the trial independence on 8/7, we're all dismissed.
I'll dismiss you at this time if you'd like. I'm not inclined to grant dismissals of the entire cause until trial independence has passed, because I don't know how he could come back into care on a case that has been dismissed. So I'll discharge CASA at this time.
Thank you, ma'am.
And so Ms. West, if you'd like to put that you can submit a dismissal of this cause after 2/6, assuming he hasn't come back into care, I'll sign that. For a permanency after final, the department is present through Ms. West. Nancy Harrison is the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. The parents, Priscilla Cash and William Reynolds. Y'all remind me who Yesenia Ruiz is?
She is the mother's attorney.
I'm not seeing her either. Has anyone heard from her?
I have not, Your Honor.
Well, this was set at 1:30. It's now 2:15. You may proceed.
The department calls Monique Johnson. Ms. Johnson, do you have any updates on Carmen since the court report was filed?
No, ma'am. She's still doing great.
And the department doesn't have any concerns about the care she's receiving, correct?
No, ma'am.
And am I correct, ma'am, the department filed a petition to modify in this case back in May?
Yes, ma'am.
And we're just waiting on the father at this point to be served, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And as it relates to the mother, am I correct in that she is still not drug tested?
Correct.
And has the mother provided you any explanation for not drug testing?
No, she has not.
Have you had any recent communication with the mother?
Yes. She's been working a crazy schedule at work. So she still checks in with me at least once a week.
And has she been having visits with Carmen?
Yes, ma'am.
Have there been any concerns reported with those visits?
No, ma'am. They're still supervised by her mother.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to the mother?
No, ma'am.
And as it relates to the father, do you have any updates on him since the court report was filed?
No, I tried to reach out to him yesterday again so he could be served, but he hasn't responded to me at all, or his brother.
And ma'am, am I correct though that he's still having some contact with Carmen?
Yes, on Sundays at church.
Okay.
Serve him at church.
Yes, Judge.
You can't serve on Sunday.
But to your knowledge, Ms. Johnson, have there been any issues with the contact that the father's been having with Carmen?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any other updates on this case?
No, ma'am.
Anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of?
Not at this time.
I'll pass on this.
Ms. Harrison?
Your Honor, I'm having internet issues, so I could actually hear y'all with my camera off, but I'm still having some issues. But I don't have questions. I'm sorry about that.
All right. Here's a novel question. I made a note from the 9/7/2022 hearing that the mothers had filed a motion to modify, that her motion contained an objection to the associate judge hearing the case on a final. My note is that I informed the attorney she would need to contact Molly at the 74th and get a setting on her petition to modify. So I guess a question in my mind is, she's filed a motion, but if she's not getting it set and you file a petition and ask for a setting, does that necessarily go together? That's a little bit of something you might look into, Ms. West, or it may just be easier for y'all just to get the setting in front of Judge Coley.
Yes, Judge.
I think that would be the
And
clear.
we haven't heard anything from her. I haven't gotten a single email. I don't know if Bailey has, but
I've not heard anything from Ms. Ruiz on that.
I'm happy to hear the department's petition to modify. I'm kind of concerned that it's almost like a compulsory counterclaim.
Right.
That I think that the easiest thing to do, the safest thing to do, is to go ahead and say she objected. We're going to hear it in front of Judge Coley. So when y'all look at setting the final after you get Dad served, I think that would probably be the safest thing to do.
Yes, Judge.
I ordered the mother to drug test that day. That would be 2/15/2023. That was the last permanency after. Did she drug test as she was ordered?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then I also ordered mediation. Did that get set up, or did we not get enough cooperation to set it up?
We went to mediation, Your Honor, but we were unable to reach an agreement.
I just saw the 3:30 note. All right. But they did show up.
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
Well, I don't think Dad did, just Mom, right?
Yes,
just Mom.
Yeah.
Does the dad work?
He works full time that I know of, but even his brother has a hard time getting a hold of him. Like, his phone got cut off recently. So he's hit or miss. He sees him at church, basically.
Does he have a vehicle that has a specific license plate?
I know he did have one, but I think it may have got repossessed, but I'll ask.
Or is there a family member that can say, I know how to get a message to him and do 106?
Well, his mother passed away, and only people that he has is his brother.
And his brother,
he knows where he lives now because he recently gave me his address, so Bailey could have him served at his home address, because they were trying to find him at our caregiver's home where he obviously doesn't live. But getting him a message, he only gets to talk to him when he sees him in person or when his brother reaches out to him because of his phone.
Well, and the other issue, it would probably look bad if we served him by substituted service by serving the person who's going to get custody of his child. So that's probably not really appropriate. All right. The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator. I will approve Carmen's current placement. I'll set the next permanency after for December 20th, 2023.
Did you say 20th or 25th?
20th. And I'm making another note where I'll be able to see it more easily. The objection to the associate judge in Mom's. So y'all might go ahead and start just looking at some tentative dates once y'all think y'all might get him served. All right, anything further from anyone? This case is set on the court's docket for a permanency after final. The department is present through Ms. West. Is Casa still on this case?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Spring Thummel is the attorney and guardian ad litem for the children. Sam Kinslow is present with the father, Larry Baker. Ms. Susan Strasser was in the lobby but did not join us, and Lily Baker is present. Ms. Pena and Mr. Dennis are here. There seems to have been some confusion about whether parents' lawyers were discharged or not. And so, Ms. West, was the department at some point indicating that they might seek termination of the parents, or is that something the department is wanting to do at this time?
Judge, at this time, the department is not seeking termination of the parents' parental rights.
All right. And so what I'm going to do, since the department has indicated they are not seeking termination, if I hadn't previously done it, I am discharging the parents' lawyers at this time as termination is not on the table. Mr. Kinslow, would you like to go ahead and participate today since you're here?
I will continue since I'm here, but I will close the file in the future and talk to Mr. Baker about it. Yes.
All right. Thank you. You may proceed, Ms. West.
The department calls Kimberly Henderson. Ms. Henderson, am I correct in that the girls are placed together, but they have separate permanency goals?
That is no, they do. They should not have different permanency goals at this time.
Looking at the court report for Bonnie, the primary permanency goal is independent living.
Oh, I apologize. We did change it. We did change it to her to independent living. So yes, they do have different permanency goals. I apologize. I remember now.
So Bonnie's permanency goal is independent living, and Isabella's permanency goal is conservatorship. Correct?
That is correct. My apologies.
So let's talk about Bonnie first. Your court report mentions that she was behind in school. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you have an update on how she's doing with her schooling?
Well, she did not. She did not attend summer school. She didn't attend summer school, and from she's not. She needs 10 more credit hours to be considered as a senior. So she's not on track with school at this time.
Is there a plan for her to catch up so that she can be on track, or what is the plan at this point?
Well, from my understanding, I thought she was going to be taking some classes during the summer to help her catch up. When I spoke with the caregiver about it, they did not put her in. She did not take any summer classes, so she's going to have to work harder. She's going to continue to go to the self-contained self-paced school that she's going to. She will continue that school next year also. That school really, if Bonnie works hard as she can, I know that she can, she will be able to catch up and be on track. She just has to continue to work hard and not lag around, but she can catch up and be on track.
And ma'am, in the court report, you mentioned that the current caregivers are not willing to take conservatorship of Bonnie at this time, correct?
That is correct.
So what is the long-term plan for Bonnie?
At this time, Bonnie has expressed that she does continue to want to stay there, and they will continue to keep her as long as she wants to stay there. Once she does finish school, she has expressed that she wants to go to attend college.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to Bonnie?
No.
One thing, ma'am, she is 17. Is that right?
That is correct.
Has the department started providing her with her documents?
Yes, we have provided her with a copy of her birth certificate. The caregiver is getting her social security card for her. I explained to them how to get the social security card, which will make it it was much easier for her to get it than the department to get it. And so she expressed to me that they are going this week to get the social security card.
And what about an ID?
Once she gets her social security card, she's taking her to get her ID.
Okay. So the caregiver is taking care of the social security card and the ID?
Yes, she expressed to me that she's taking care of that.
Do you have any other updates that relates to Bonnie?
No other updates at this time.
And what about Isabella? Do you have any updates on her since the court report was filed?
No other updates. The caregiver did express to me that she's signing her back up for soccer. She's doing well in soccer. She's doing good. She's doing good right now. So really no other updates, really.
The court report mentions that the caregivers are not willing to take conservatorship of Isabella. Is that correct?
That is correct, because they did not want to take conservatorship of her and not of Bonnie.
So is the long-term plan for Isabella to remain in this current placement?
That is the plan, unless the caregivers decide to change their mind and do something differently.
For 10 years. That's the goal.
I'm sorry.
Foster care for 10 years is the department's goal.
Well, once we figure out exactly what Bonnie, I know that the caregivers did not want to take PMC of Isabella and not of Bonnie. And once Bonnie, I'm assuming once she ages out and goes on her own, the caregivers will possibly change their mind and take, and maybe adopt Isabella.
So at this point, the department is kind of in a holding pattern until Bonnie turns 18.
I'm not just saying it's a holding pattern, but we are just trying to see exactly what, once she turns 18, at that time, if the caregivers are still willing to do as they say, possibly, adopt, or if they are just wanting to do PMC. If they're still just wanting to do PMC at that time, then the department will look into making different changes if needed.
Okay, so the caregivers have indicated they are willing to take care of Isabella long term?
Yes, they have.
But at this point right now, they're not willing to take conservatorship of her?
Right, at this point.
Okay. Do you have any other updates as it relates to Isabella?
No.
And as it relates to the father, your court report indicates that he has not been visiting. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you have any updates on that?
He has phone. He has continuous phone visits, but no in-person visits.
And how have those phone visits been going?
I haven't had any concerns. They're going okay.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to the father?
No other updates. I do know that I know in the past the father has told us that he had no transportation, but I do know that there's where he is living. Someone does have a vehicle at the home, but I'm not sure if they want to allow him to use it or whatever so he can have in-person visits.
And as it relates to Ms. Strasser, do you have any updates on her since the court report was filed?
No.
And am I correct in that she has been visiting Bonnie?
Yes, she visits Bonnie. At least they visit at least once a month. They have phone contact, and I know she actually went on a camping trip with them not long ago and went to the home and went swimming.
And have there been any concerns reported with those visits between Bonnie and Ms. Strasser?
No.
Do you have any other updates that relates to Ms. Strasser?
No.
And as it relates to Ms. Baker, do you have any updates on her?
No other updates.
And at this time, is she still not ready for a face-to-face visit?
That is correct. She has not indicated.
Do you have any other updates at this time?
No other updates, no.
Is there anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of?
No, besides what's in the court report, no, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Thummel.
Ms. Henderson, you and I and your supervisor have had some emails floating around today about a potential circle of support for Bonnie, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And there was just maybe some confusion about who needs to participate and how to get that scheduled to get all the appropriate people included, correct?
Correct.
Is it your understanding that the PAL worker is going to kind of take the lead on that and try to get that situated?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And then the court report did mention that the caregiver had some concerns about some of Bonnie's behaviors. But it's my understanding that a lot of her behaviors have improved significantly since our last hearing. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. Yes, ma'am. She sent me a text and said that everything seems to be going really good right at the time.
And is it your understanding that the caregivers, they've not really wavered on being a permanent long-term caregiver for these girls? It's just been a matter of, I kind of want the department to remain as a buffer between them and the parents to some extent. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any needs that these children have that are not being met at this time?
No, all of their needs are being met by the caregivers. I have no issues with that at all.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Kinslow?
Yes, Ms. Anderson, you do have contact information for Mr. Baker to set up in-person visits if he's able to get the transportation lined up?
Oh, yes, we do. We have his correct information.
Okay, and he is in communication with you?
Yes, I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago. Okay. Yes.
Pass the witness, nothing else.
Ms. Baker, do you have any questions for Ms. Henderson? Okay, I could read your lips. You said no, ma'am, but I couldn't hear you. I think you're probably too far from the microphone. If you could just get a little closer. Mr. Baker, actually, Mr. Kinslow represents Mr. Baker. Ms. Strasser, you were having some technical difficulties when we started the case. One thing that the department let me know is that they are not seeking to terminate any of you parents' parental rights. And with that being the situation, parents are not entitled to have a court-appointed attorney at this stage in the game, or not game, in this stage of the proceeding. That was, and so I have discharged all the parents' attorneys, all right?
Yes, Your Honor. I was actually watching it on YouTube on my tablet, on my phone. My tablet was trying to connect, so I kind of switched it over, and I'm on my phone now.
I knew you were having some issues, and then I didn't know if something came up when you vanished altogether. I'm glad you were able to watch.
I was trying to redo it.
Okay. Do you have any questions of Ms. Henderson at this point?
Well, I was just wondering, at what age does Bonnie age out?
Usually it's 18.
18. So at that time, would we be dismissed from the case, or how would that work?
Well, there are a few questions and facts that could affect that. Probably Ms. Henderson could speak to you about staying in extended foster care, or kind of how that works. But right now, do you have any questions for Ms. Henderson?
No, ma'am, I don't believe I do.
All right, thank you. Your next witness, Ms. West.
I have no further witnesses.
Ms. Thummel.
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Mr. Kinslow.
Let me just briefly call Mr.
Go ahead,
Baker.
Mr. Kinslow.
Mr. Baker, for a few moments, sir, I'll remain your attorney. Do you have a contact information with Ms. Henderson, and you feel like you're able to set up in-person visits if you can work out your transportation? Well, you must be having some bandwidth issues.
He looks frozen.
I think you're right.
Things I can really take care of outside of the proceeding. I was hoping just to have two questions, but I will coordinate with him after the meeting. And
all right. Any witnesses, Miss? I'm sorry, I keep calling you Miss Baker because I've known you as Miss Baker for the whole time. It looks like you're Miss Bartley now.
Yes. I mean,
okay. Do you have any evidence or any witnesses you would like to present at this time?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you. Same question to you, Ms. Strasser. Any evidence you'd like to present?
No, ma'am.
All right. It looks like Mr. Baker may be back. Did you need to ask Mr. Baker any further questions, Mr. Kinslow?
I really don't. I'll handle it after the meeting.
All right. The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator. I will approve the current placement of the children. I'll set the next permanency after for December 20th, 2023 at 1:30. Docket for a permanency after final. The department is present through Ms. West. Ms. Thummel is the attorney and guardian ad litem for the child. The parents are Maya Skinner and Mangle Womack Jr. They were notice of this hearing but are not present. You may proceed, Ms. West.
The department calls Siobhan May. Ms. May, do you have any updates on the child since the court report was filed?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Am I correct? She's doing well in her current placement?
Yes, she is.
And the department doesn't have any concerns about the care that she's receiving?
No, ma'am, we do not.
And am I correct, ma'am, that this caregiver is already licensed?
Yes, she is.
And we're working on a modification on this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
To give Ms. Washington managing conservatorship?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any updates as it relates to the mother since the court report was filed?
No, ma'am. I did attempt to visit with her at the last address that we have for her. She was not present. I did have a conversation with her grandmother because that is where she lives, but I have not had any contact with Miss Skinner.
You indicate she may be residing with her grandmother?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any other updates that relates to the mother?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Do you have any updates as it relates to the father since the court report was filed?
I did see Mr. Mangle Womack Jr. At a visit when I went to visit with Zuri. He was there visiting with her. And I did tell him about this hearing. Of course, they did receive notes. I sent him a court report. But other than that, no, ma'am, we did talk about the goal. He is still supportive of Zuri remaining with his mother and her having PMC.
Do you have any other updates at this time?
I would like to provide an update on PCA negotiations. All the paperwork has been done. They're just waiting for PMC to be given to Miss Washington for her to start receiving the benefits, but we are at the very end with negotiations.
Do you have any other updates at this point?
No, ma'am, I do not.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Thummel.
Ms. May, do you know approximately the last time you did have contact with mom?
It's been a couple of months. No, ma'am, I don't know exactly. We did schedule a visit for her to meet me at the office, and she confirmed, but she did not show.
Okay. And is it your understanding that the caregiver has had difficulty remaining in contact with her as well?
Yes, ma'am. Recently, when I talked to Miss Monica, she said that she had not been in touch with Maya either. Prior to that, they would speak pretty regularly, but she hasn't had any contact with her recently either.
Okay. Any concerns whatsoever about Zuri or any services she might need?
No, ma'am. No concerns at all.
All right. Pass the witness.
So has the motion to modify been filed?
It is not, Your Honor. We're still working on drafting it.
Okay. And so y'all draft the motion to modify, file it, try to serve mom at grandma's home. If it comes back unserved, 106, post it on the door at grandma's house with the information that says she lives there.
Yes, Judge.
And then we think Dad'll sign a waiver.
Either that, I believe he's been in some pretty regular communication with the department, so I don't think we'll have any issue locating him to serve him.
All right. All right. Anything further from anyone? If the court has reviewed the report that's on file, I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator. I will approve the current placement with Ms. Washington. I'll set this for the next permanency after for December 20th.
Since the court report was filed.
No, I do not.
Am I correct that he is still in McLennan County Jail, anticipating an August 10th hearing date?
Yes.
And ma'am, he does turn 18 in August. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he indicated previously he wanted to stay in care?
He did, yes.
To your knowledge, is that still his intention?
And that's what he's still saying, that he wants to stay in care, yes.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to Timothy?
No, I do not.
And his mother has indicated she's just happy that he's in a secure location, correct?
That is correct, yes.
But do you have any other updates that relates to her at this time?
No, she didn't know how to sign on, but she asked if we wanted to talk with her, if I could call her during the hearing. But I've spoken with her, and she just thanks us that we have taken good care of him, and she wants the best for him right now. And she's glad that he's where he is.
Do you have any other updates as it relates to the mother?
No.
Do you have any updates as it relates to the father in this case?
No, do not have.
Is there anything else you feel the court needs to be made aware of?
No. We did get him. I was able to get him help and get him some money on his books for commissary. I was glad of that. But other than that, no other updates.
I'll pass the witness.
Emil?
Has Timothy been able to communicate or willing to communicate with you since he's been in the jail?
Has he been, I'm sorry, Spring, I didn't hear you.
Has he been willing to communicate with you since he's been in the jail?
Yes, we've visited in person, and he's actually, once I put the money on his card, the commissary, I think he got a card, and he constantly calls, and I'd say, Timothy, don't waste your money. Just constantly calling back and forth with the same questions because it's all the same. So, yes.
Okay. And do you remember who his criminal defense attorney is?
Once we leave this, I don't have it right here in front of me. I guarantee you, as soon as this is over, it's gonna come to my mind, and I will send it to you.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Henderson, in the report, you've indicated that Timothy is hoping to come back into care after he gets squared away with the criminal case. Is that right?
Yes. Once he finishes the safe P, he did indicate to me that he wanted to come back into extended care.
Okay. And so it's sort of a tough needle to thread as far as aging out. You have the right to come back into care. You have to be in care at the time you age out to sign for extended foster care. But he is able, if he were to age out and then wish to come back into care, then the department could have a CPU request and try to find a placement for him. Is that right?
Your Honor, it's a little bit, I'm going to have to get correct clarification because of the fact that he's in McLennan County Jail. And so I will have to get correct clarification because I don't want to say yes and that is not correct.
Okay. He has to be in a placement in order to be in extended foster care, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And the department would have to have a placement for him to go back into.
Yes.
So the question is, if he wants to come back into care in a few months, will the department look for a place for him?
So we would definitely look for a place for him if McLennan County Jail is considered and TDCJ is considered as the placement for him.
Okay, well, it's not a paid placement. Like, just take out the whole idea of where he is now. Let's say in 6 months he has successfully completed SafeP and he's on probation, and he says, Ms. Henderson, can you try to find me a place so that I can be successful? He's not in care. He's not in a paid placement, but he has an opportunity. I mean, that's the whole thing about trial independence. You get to come back into care. You're never in a paid placement at the time you come back into care, right? Because by definition, if you're in a paid placement, you're not in trial independence.
Correct. So yes, we would definitely do what the department needed to do to get him to meet his needs. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I understand that he's saying he wants to stay in care. I also understand he's not really stayed anywhere we've put him very long.
Yes,
so I get that. I just don't want to assume that he doesn't have an opportunity to get help that we can provide, that we should at least try.
Yes, ma'am. And that's what we would do. We would definitely. I've been trying with Timothy, and I'm not going to give up on Timothy.
You have been working. I know you have, Ms. Henderson. All right. Anything further from CASA other than I will, based on CASA's request, discharge CASA at the conclusion of this hearing?
We don't have anything further, Your Honor.
All right. The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department at this time. I am finding that this young man is currently incarcerated. He will age out on 8/23/2023. Under the sort of strange circumstances, I feel like giving him more than a 6-month trial independence period would be in his best interest. I am going to enter a 1-year trial independence period that will end on 8/22/2023, and I'm discharging CASA. Because he's aging out next month, I am not setting another permanency after. The only way that I'll set another permanency hearing is that if at some point during the trial independence period, he is able to come back, he requests and is able to come back into care. All right?
Okay.
Anything further from anyone?
Judge, I have 2 things real quick.
Okay.
Did something happen to Daniel that I'm not aware of?
I thought he got deferred.
He's on a different docket.
I know, it's just that you said Timothy was the only child left, so I was making sure that I still have a setting for Daniel. I was making sure that, and then I've also let Spring know who Timothy's defense attorney is. I found that information out real quick.
Awesome, thank you. If there's nothing further, we'll be in recess. For permanency after final, the department is present through Ms. West. Spring Thummel is the attorney and guardian ad litem. The parents, Alexis Garcia and Louis Dupart, were noticed of this setting, but are not present. Do you have her on the phone, or are you trying to get her?
She's hopping back on, Judge.
Welcome back, Ms. Henderson.
And I found out some information just that quick. From
One second. Is it something we need to go in a breakout room for? Yes. Let's all jump into breakout room 1.
Okay.
Ms. West, you may call your first witness.
The department calls Kimberly Henderson. Ma'am, we had a little bit of a breakout meeting just a moment ago. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you have any updates on Jaylon beyond what's in the report and beyond what we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago?
No.
Is he doing well in his current placement?
Yes, he's doing fine.
And as it relates to the other children, do you have any updates since the court report was filed?
No.
And they're doing well in their placement, correct?
That is correct, yes.
One thing in the court report, it mentions that Jania's primary permanency goal is PMC to the department. Is that a mistake in the report?
That is correct.
Okay. And so conservatorship to the current caregivers is her primary permanency goal, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any other updates that relates to the children?
No, they will have another sibling visit next week. I was down there visiting with the kids last week and picked Jaylon up. They all had a nice sibling visit, and they will have another one next week on the 20th.
Ma'am, do you have any updates on the parents since the court report was filed?
No, I do not.
And have they had any further phone visits with the children since the court report was filed?
No.
And have they had any in-person visits?
No.
Are they maintaining communication with the department?
If I reach out, I reached out for an email. I went to the homes, said, please call me. She sent an email saying you don't know.
You mentioned the police called you?
No, I left a card asking her to contact me. She sent an email just saying you wanted me to reach out. And I said, yes, I want to meet with you guys. And I never heard back from her.
And have you had any contact with the father?
No.
Do you have any other updates for the court at this time?
No.
I'll pass witness.
Ms. Gummel?
Ms. Henderson, I think we talked at some point and you have connected with a disability specialist to see about an HCS slot or long-term therapeutic placement for Jaylon. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And the current placement that he's in is a therapeutic foster home with some plans to seek HCS licensing. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, is that placement still in Jaylon's best interest?
At this time, yes.
Okay. And a few weeks ago, we had some discussion that there was a gap in getting those sibling visits going, but right now they're on a good track and they're scheduled to occur more regularly. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The report mentions some issues with Jaylon, even in the new placements and behavior concerns and aggression. Do you have any reports from his school or from the caregiver that describes any serious incidents?
The caregiver did when I went to the home, she did report that he had a meltdown one day. They were outside playing. It was time to come inside. He didn't want to come inside at the time, so he did have a meltdown at the time. She said he got all right and he was fine. He did have an incident at school. Before school was out, there was an incident that happened at the school. But those are the only two serious incidents that she has reported, that she possibly reported to me.
But it didn't rise to the level that there was a written report by the school.
The school did write up a incident report as to what happened, and so, but it didn't rise as to where they thought anything, was extra was going on.
Okay, can you just make sure to send me that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the other three children are doing well and getting the services that they need in their placement, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. I'll pass the witness.
Anything further of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Gummel?
Nothing additional, Your Honor.
The court has reviewed the report that's on file. I will continue the department as the permanent managing conservator. I will approve the current placements of the children at this time. I'll set the next permanency after for December 20th, 2023 at 1:30. If there's nothing further, we'll be in recess.